Why did peace feel so wrong? Captain Cole Vance stood in the cold hangar bay, the smell of ozone and recycled air sharp in his lungs. His Void Rangers were quiet, their black combat armor absorbing the low light. On a large monitor mounted to a bulkhead, the ceremony played out. The Citadel, the gleaming heart of the Galactic Council, was hosting the treaty signing. Humanity was finally getting a seat at the table. It looked like a victory. It felt like a surrender. His gut twisted. He looked at his men. They watched the screen with still faces, their hands resting near their sidearms. They felt it too. The silence in the bay was heavier than armor. Outside, the capital station hummed with the power of a dozen allied species. Here, in this forgotten corner, the human soldiers waited. Their orders were simple. Stand by. Protect nothing. Be seen by no one. On the screen, Ambassador Thorne smiled. She was a good woman. She spoke of hope, of a shared future built on trust. Cole watched her words, but his eyes were on the other figure. High Arbiter Zorgan, leader of the Cathar, stood like a stone predator. His reptilian eyes did not blink. He held the ceremonial chalice, a gesture of shared life and prosperity. Then it happened. Zorgan's head turned. He stared directly into the broadcast camera, his gaze piercing through the screen and into the hangar. It was a look of absolute finality. A shimmering wall of energy erupted from the floor, trapping the entire human delegation on the stage. There were gasps from the alien crowd. Before anyone could process the betrayal, Cathar guards moved with brutal speed. Their energy blades ignited with a vicious hum. They did not hesitate. Ambassador Thorne's hopeful expression vanished, replaced by shock, then nothing. Blood, impossibly red, sprayed across the pristine white marble of the stage. The broadcast did not cut away. The council wanted everyone to see. They wanted humanity to watch their leaders get slaughtered like animals. In the hangar bay, a man swore, his voice choked. Another slammed his fist against a metal crate, the sound echoing in the sudden, vast silence from the monitor. Cole did not move. He watched the last of his people fall. Powerless, 1,000 light years from home, with orders to do nothing. The feed finally went dark. The screen was black. The only sound was the low thrum of the station's life support. Every man in the 7th Void Rangers stood frozen, their shared horror a physical weight in the air. A single comms light blinked on Cole's console. It was a Priority 1 channel direct from Earth High Command. A secured 2-word message. The voice that spoke was not angry. It was not sad. It was a dead, empty sound, like a judge passing a final sentence. Protocol 0. Cole slowly raised his head and looked at the faces of his men. The shock was gone. The grief was already burning away. In their eyes he saw something new forming. Something cold, silent, and absolute. They were not soldiers anymore. They were the instruments of a promise. Protocol 0 was not a war plan. It was permission. It was the legal and moral unchaining of the human race. All rules of engagement were gone. All mercy was forbidden. High Command had decided that humanity's soul was less important than its survival. The galaxy wanted to know what would happen if they pushed too far. Humanity was about to give them the answer. Cole Vance did not receive a warship. He was given the Scrapper, a small rust-colored vessel designed for deep space salvage. His team of Void Rangers looked out of place on its cramped decks, their clean black armor a stark contrast to the ship's dirty, used interior. Their target was not a fleet or a fortress, it was Xylos, a moon made of data. It was the financial heart of the Cathar Empire, a place where wealth was not stored but calculated. They slipped into the system behind a rogue asteroid. Cathar patrols passed them without a second look. They were just junk collectors, invisible. The tension on the bridge was a physical thing. Every man was silent, watching the navigation screen as they drifted toward the moon. No one spoke. Their mission was too monstrous for words. "We are in position," the pilot said, his voice flat. Cole nodded. "Go." His team moved through the ship's corridors and into the deployment bay. They didn't carry explosives. They carried a single data spike, a sleek black cylinder created by Earth's most ruthless minds. It was a logic virus, a weapon that did not kill. It simply changed the truth. They EVA'd across a silent gap, spacesuits gliding through the dark. They cut through the outer hull of the data hub with a quiet thermal lance. Inside, the air was cold, filled with the low hum of 1 trillion calculations per second. Rows of servers stretched into the darkness like a metal forest. Cole and his team moved between them like ghosts. They met no guards. The Cathar had protected their bank with firewalls, not soldiers. They never imagined someone would just walk inside. They reached the central data core, a pulsating sphere of light. One of Cole's men knelt, opened a maintenance panel and slid the data spike into a port. A single green light on the cylinder blinked. The upload began. It took 90 seconds. "It's done, sir," the ranger said. "Get us out," Cole ordered. Back on the bridge of the scrapper, they watched the chaos unfold on their own monitors. The virus was not deleting anything. It was rewriting. Across the Cathar Empire, personal fortunes vanished. Corporate accounts flatlined. Treaties between allied species, backed by Cathar funds, became worthless text. In less than 5 minutes, an empire that had ruled for 1,000 years was bankrupt. On the bridge of his flagship, High Arbiter Zorgon watched his power dissolve. The reports flooded in, a tide of pure panic. His fleets were untouched. His armies were armed and ready. But his empire was a ghost. He had planned for a war of ships and soldiers. He had prepared for a glorious, brutal battle. He did not expect this. The humans had not sent a fleet, they had sent an accountant. The galaxy learned a new kind of fear. It was not the fear of a charging fleet or a world cracking under bombardment. It was the fear of a ghost. Humanity did not fight battles anymore. It ended civilizations. Engineered plagues swept through Cathar agricultural worlds, creating famine. False Cathar orders, broadcast on secret channels, sent allied fleets against each other. The council did not shatter. It was taken apart, piece by piece, from the inside out. Cole's next mission was not about strategy. It was about revenge. High Command gave him a name, Director Evans. He was the human politician who sold the security codes for the peace summit. He had traded the ambassador's life for a promise of safety. Now he was hiding on a neutral world, a lush planet called Serene, living under the protection of a species that wanted no part in the war. Cole and his rangers landed their ship in a desolate canyon, far from the capital city. They moved on foot through the clean, quiet night. The air was sweet, a painful contrast to the recycled air of their ship. Their target was a private estate, a glass and steel structure overlooking a calm sea. This was not war. It was an assassination. Or a kidnapping. Cole no longer knew the difference. They found Evans in his study. He was not surprised. He was an old man in a silk robe holding a glass of amber liquid. He watched them enter with tired eyes. He did not beg. He did not plead. "It took you long enough, Captain," Evans said, his voice calm. He gestured to a monitor showing a news feed. A Cathar colony world, its population starving, its people rioting. "Look at what we've become, Cole. I tried to prevent this. I knew we couldn't win a fair fight. I sacrificed a few to save our species from a war that would have destroyed us." Cole's hand tightened on his rifle. "You call that a sacrifice?" "I tried to save our soul," Evans said, taking a slow sip from his glass. "You are burning it just to win." The words hit Cole like a physical blow. He saw the truth in them, a sliver of poison that he could not ignore. But his orders were absolute. "You're coming with us." They dragged Evans from the estate and back to their ship. As they lifted off, the sky lit up. The ship rocked violently, alarms blaring across the bridge. It was not an explosion. It was a net. Blue energy beams wrapped around their vessel, strangling the engines. Power died. The ship went silent, hanging helpless in the air. Outside, a dozen sleek Cathar ships materialized from stealth fields. They were hunter-killers, specialized for capture. They had been waiting. A message came through, the Cathar's voice distorted and cold. You are disabled. We do not wish to destroy your vessel. Surrender the human prisoners. Your ship will be spared. Cole looked at the tactical display. They were surrounded, outgunned. Their enemy did not want them dead. They wanted them alive, to be taken apart, studied, and learned from. They wanted to know how the ghosts operated. The silence on the bridge was absolute, broken only by the quiet hiss of failing life support. Red emergency lights pulsed against the metal walls, painting the crew's faces in blood. They were adrift, trapped. Director Evans laughed, a dry, rattling sound. This is where your great crusade ends, Captain. He sneered from his restraints. Caught in a cage. No clever virus can save you now. Cole ignored him. He stared at the tactical display. The Cathar ships formed a perfect sphere around them, their energy net tightening. Evans was right. There was no escape, so they would not escape. A cold, terrible idea began to form in his mind, an idea born from pure human desperation. It was insane. It was their only chance. He turned to his first officer. Reroute all power, everything. Life support, secondary systems, inertial dampeners, all of it. Feed it into the gravitic drive core. The officer's eyes went wide. Sir, the safeties are offline. A full power surge will overload the core. It could tear us apart from the inside. Do it, Cole said, his voice leaving no room for argument. When faced with extinction, you did not play it safe. You built a bigger gun. The crew moved with practiced speed. On the main screen, Cole saw the Cathar ships closing in, ready to board and claim their prize. He opened a channel, his voice deliberately weak. This is Captain Vance of the human vessel. We surrender. We are powering down. He watched the enemy commander take the bait. The Cathar vessels tightened their formation, moving within meters of his ship's hull. The bridge of the scrapper groaned as power was diverted. The lights flickered and died, plunging them into near total darkness. The only light came from the tactical display, showing the enemy closing the trap. Core is at maximum overload, sir, the officer reported, his voice tight with fear. It won't hold for long. Cole stared at the screen, at the ring of arrogant predators. His finger rested on the console. Now. There was no explosion. There was a moment of profound, unnatural silence. A sphere of pure blackness erupted from their ship, expanding outward in an instant. It was not fire or energy. It was an absence, a void. The Cathar fleet did not blow up. The ship simply vanished into the expanding sphere. Cole's vessel was thrown violently, metal screaming as the last of the gravitic energy dissipated. Emergency power flickered back on. They were alive. They were alone. They, on the main view screen, where a dozen enemy ships had been just seconds before, there was now a wound. It was a jagged black tear in the fabric of space itself, a scar in the cosmos that reflected no light. They had not just destroyed the enemy. They had broken the universe. Cole stared at the impossible sight, the cold dread washing over him. Evans was right. In their rage to win, they had become something monstrous. He looked at the ugly scar they had carved into the stars, and for the first time, Cole Vance was afraid of what humanity had become. News of the space-time scar broke the galaxy. It was a weapon beyond comprehension. It did not just kill, it erased. It wounded reality itself. The remaining council species did not negotiate. They sent panicked messages of unconditional surrender to Earth. They were not afraid of humanity's armies anymore. They were afraid of a species that treated the laws of physics like a suggestion. The war was over. Only one loose end remained. High Arbiter Zorgon, the human Grand Fleet, a force kept hidden for a century, emerged from jump space over the Cathar homeworld. Hundreds of gray warships formed a silent, suffocating ring around the planet. It was the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. But the ships did not power their weapons. They simply waited. Cole Vance stood on the bridge of the fleet's flagship. His face was tired, etched with lines that were not there a month ago. He had been given one final order. It was not to bombard the planet. It was to talk. His image was broadcast across the Cathar world, appearing on every screen, every public monitor, every personal device. He stood in his simple officer's uniform. He did not look like a conqueror. He looked like a man delivering a verdict. "I am Captain Cole Vance," he began, his voice calm and steady. "Your High Arbiter told you we were barbarians. He told you we were the aggressors." Then the screen behind Cole changed. It showed the unedited footage from the Citadel, the human ambassador speaking of peace, Zorgon's cold stare, the energy shield, the slaughter, the blood on the white marble. The image changed again. It showed secret Cathar communications, Zorgon ordering his own allies into ambushes, Zorgon pulling funds from colony worlds, leaving them to starve while he fortified his own position. He showed them the data from Xylos, proving Zorgon had intentionally bankrupted his own people to consolidate his power. Cole's face returned to the screen. "Your leader lied. He sacrificed his allies. He sacrificed his people. He sacrificed our ambassadors to start a war he knew he would profit from." He paused, letting the silence hang over the planet. "We are now here to end it. Hand over Zorgon and every member of his regime. You have 12 hours. After that, we will resolve the situation ourselves." The broadcast ended. For an hour, the planet was silent. Then, it burned. City after city erupted in open revolt. The Cathar people, armed with the truth, turned on their masters. The civil war was not fought over years, it was fought in hours. Before the deadline, a single unarmed Cathar shuttle lifted from the capital. It broadcast a message of surrender. They had a prisoner for him. Cole stood on the bridge watching the small ship approach the massive fleet. The war did not end with a final glorious battle. It ended with a quiet prisoner transfer. He had won. Humanity was safe. The galaxy was theirs to command. But as he looked out at the stars, he felt no victory. He only felt the crushing weight of their actions. The galaxy was quiet now, but it was the silence of terror. He had saved his people by showing the universe a monster. Now he and all of humanity had to live inside the cage that monster had built.